Hi, I'm Joni Hilton, your YouTube mom. Today I want to talk to you about dysgraphia. It's probably something you've never heard of. We've all heard of dyslexia, this disability with reading easily. But dysgraphia has to do with handwriting. And one of our children had this, so I know a lot about it and I want to tell you about it in case it might affect you or someone you love. If you know anyone who has really terrible handwriting, or you do, and you struggle to carve out letters, you could have dysgraphia. Here's what it sometimes looks like. Oftentimes, the letters fall off the lines. Sometimes some of them are gone over very heavily. This could be the handwriting of a fourth grader, and yet look how it looks. It's almost impossible for people with dysgraphia to write neatly and legibly. The way it was explained to me one time was this way. It's as if you are a stroke victim. You know what you want to say, but you can't get it to come out your fingers. Or if you or I were to try to write with our toes, oh, it'd be so frustrating. You'd know the shape you want to make. You'd know the words you want to write, but you couldn't get your toes to do it the way your fingers can. That's kind of what it's like. Now let me tell you something. There is a state that has a law that you cannot give timed tests because they discriminate against people with dysgraphia. Because you might know the answer, but if you can't write fast enough, a timed test is terribly unfair. Here's what you do to compensate, or what you can have teachers do for your child if your child has dysgraphia. Have them do just the odd or just the even problems on a worksheet to show they know the material, but they don't have to finish every single one. When there's a worksheet that requires writing, see if they can dictate it to someone else. Same with if they have to come home and write a report. See if they can dictate that report. If they can get on a keyboard and get computer skills early on, that will help tremendously. Incidentally, it doesn't affect their artwork, just letters and numbers that they're trying to write. Another thing they can do in class instead of taking notes is to use a recorder, or be able to record it maybe on an iPhone or some kind of electronic device. Electronics save these kids. The one thing you do not want is you do not want a teacher who says, you're being sloppy, you're being lazy, you're not trying, you need to do this again, or you need to practice your letters on a separate piece of paper for another hour. All those things fatigue and discourage someone with dysgraphia, and it can even lead to depression. And how could it not, right? You get so discouraged from trying so hard and not being able to do it. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Occasionally, they can do it. Occasionally, they can write neatly. And a lot of teachers point to this as evidence that they're just not trying all those other times. Well, the person who diagnosed our child said, do you always perform at peak ability? And I said, no. And he said, nobody does. You can't. It's too exhausting. But every once in a while, you do your absolute best and it's a fine result. And it's the same for kids who have dysgraphia. Sometimes they can muster the strength and whatever it takes to make one or two words look right. But it's exhausting if they have to do that for a whole page, and so they never do. And so consequently, they have a really tough time writing. Doesn't mean they can't think what to say or couldn't contrive a beautiful essay if only they could type it out or dictate it. They're very smart. They just can't get it out the fingertips. So now you know about a disability that's really important, and we need to make accommodations for people who have this and not discriminate against them or make them feel terrible for having this. I hope you've learned something today. I'm your YouTube mom, Joni Hilton. Go to my website, jonihilton.com, and tell your friends to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.